Hey guys, it's Beth Riss from Ironton, Ohio, and I just wanted to touch base with you tonight. Um, if you may notice, if I cough, I apologize. I'm getting over a bout with bronchitis, and so if I cough, excuse me. And I've noticed. I'm sure you've noticed that I have a gasp when I'm breathing sometimes. This time of year is always hard on me. I have allergies and stuff. But anyway, let's get past that. Anyway, so today I want to talk about domestic violence, okay? Now, just like I always promote Google, I know I'm not getting paid to do that. But instead of using my own words, which people tend to contradict what I'm saying, I'm just going to use Google. Okay, so tonight I want to talk about domestic violence, okay? Okay, so people ask, what is the statute of limitations on domestic violence in Ohio? Okay. Now here it is right here. Okay. What are the statutes of limitations on domestic violence? Okay. It says 6 years. Okay, 6 years if it is a felony allegation, and it is 2 years if it is a misdemeanor allegation. Once the statute of limitations has passed, you can no longer press charges, even if it is true. Did you hear that? Oh, my Lord, have mercy. Uh, even if it's true, there's a statute of limitations on how you can address that. Wow. Okay. So we'll go down here, and it says how many domestic violence cases are in Ohio. Okay. Ohio suffered 112 domestic violence fatalities in the year ending June 30th, 2023, including 22 youth, according to our 8th annual count of domestic violence fatalities. This is the same number for both adults and children as last year. I wonder if they're the same families. What is the difference between domestic assault and domestic violence? Well, they are identical under Ohio law. First, a defendant is charged with assault knowingly causing harm to another. If the victim of this assault is considered a family or household member of the defendant, the assault charge becomes a domestic violence charge. Okay. And then to get outside of Ohio, Oklahoma has the highest rate of domestic violence in the United States. Oklahoma's not my concern. So, okay. How long does a warrant stay active in Ohio? The warrant will remain active until you are taken into custody. Well, it just gave you limitations on statute of limitations on how long it was. So, anyway, worse yet, arrest warrants are typically shared by multiple law enforcement agencies. This means that you could very well be arrested in another state while on vacation because of missed court appearances in your home state. Well, if you have a court appearance and you obviously miss it, well, then you're probably guilty. If you have a court appearance and you go, what's the odds there? Okay. Okay, so anyway, how many domestic violence cases get dismissed in the United States? Okay. 60% of domestic violence cases were dismissed. Even more troubling, we found the percentage and total number of dismissed cases has continued to climb over the 3-year period received in 2016. 54% of cases were dismissed. It goes on and on here. What is the punishment for assault in Ohio? Let's see what that is. Assault is typically categorized as a first-degree misdemeanor. A jail sentence up to 180 days, a fine of up to $1,000, and community control probation for up to 5 years. There are many circumstances which elevate the level of this offense and the possible penalties. Okay. Is verbal abuse a crime? In Ohio, domestic violence can be verbal if a family or household member believes that the offender will cause them imminent physical harm. So many times, I've had, while I was working, I had so many women call 911, okay? And, beg for help. Husband's beating on them, boyfriend beating on them, whatever. Then, if the person that called, if the person that called 911 didn't, they call 911. Women mostly call 911 because they're afraid of being killed by their spouse. But once you get there, and you arrest that spouse, they're calling simply because they're afraid of death. But once you get there and you arrest their spouse, I've had women jump on my back. Don't take him, don't take him, don't take him. You know why? Because when he gets out of jail, he's going to beat the shit out of you. That's just how it is. Okay? Here's my concern. Why put your children through listening to you argue or downgrade each other? That will have an effect on a child's life forever. Forever. That child will suffer. That child may, 87% of the time, and I've Googled it, Google, 87% of the time, that child will grow up and treat his spouse or his children, or let his children witness that as he has been taught from experience. Okay? Let's see here. Let's listen to this. What are 3 facts about domestic violence? Okay? 1, domestic abuse is more than just physical or sexual violence. I agree with that. 2, both women and men can be victims. I agree with that. 3, there are many warning signs of abuse. 4, abuse is never the victim's fault. Okay? Then why is there a statute of limitations when you can actually be brave enough to speak out about being abused domestically? Okay. Let's see. What are some shocking facts about domestic violence? 85% of domestic violence victims are women. 1/4 of women worldwide experience domestic dating violence in their lifetime. Women between the ages of 20 to 24 are greatest risk of becoming victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence is most likely to take place between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Well, you know why? Because their spouse, whether it be male or female, most likely are drinking. Well, that's just common knowledge, okay? Now, what happens when you turn yourself in for a warrant in Ohio? This is not about domestic violence. Let's just see here. If you turn yourself in for a bench warrant, it is possible that you go to jail until you can appear before a judge for a bench warrant hearing. In some cases, you might be able to avoid jail time and remain out of custody, but you will still have to make a court appearance to address the warrant. Okay, we got that. We got that. And let me just speak about something. Recently, I had several situations I was working on, and sometimes, and I don't mean anything negative about anybody. Excuse me. The government and the court systems and the authorities are counting on you not knowing your rights. They're counting on it. So they tell you, and I can name names, but I'm not going to. You know who you are. I could tell you what judges or magistrates or whatever, do magistrate judge? Let's look that up. They go through law school. Anyway, this particular individual finally figured out their rights. And something that has been drug out for months and months and months, accusing this individual of harassing a youngster. And, he simply, or, yeah, I did say he simply learned his, he knew what about his rights were. So, case dismissed. If you don't know your rights, people, excuse me, excuse me, if you don't know your rights, anything can happen to you, anything. Now, if you're a drug trafficker and you got fentanyl and meth, and if you're a regular person, you might get, 15, 20 years in prison. But if you're the popo, you might get 12 months in prison. So we'll be keeping up on that little episode. Okay. Can assault charges be dropped in Ohio? Okay. Self-defense is one of the most common defenses used in assault cases. If you were defending yourself or someone else and your actions were deemed reasonable given the situation, you may be able to have your charges dropped. Okay. Can police do anything about verbal abuse? It's very common for people to assume that domestic violence only includes actual physical harm to another person. Well, that refers to California. I'm not concerned about California. I'm concerned about Ironton. Now let's talk about children, okay? Because that's very important to me. What abuse happens the most? Neglect, okay? Neglect is the most common form of child abuse, okay? Neglect, okay? I'm going to try to refrain from that, okay? Okay. How to get someone out of your house without calling the cops, okay? Legally removing people. Send a certified letter asking them to leave in 30 days or less. Well, what if they kill you? What if they beat you up? You have to let them stay there for 30 days. What in the hell is wrong with this shit? Okay? While a house guest is not technically a tenant, certain tenant landlords laws still apply to the relationship if they've been with you for more than 30 days. So somebody can be with you for 1 month, beat the crap out of you. Okay? Talk to an attorney. That's the big thing now. They tell people if you don't have an attorney, let me talk about this. If you don't have an attorney, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Well, a lot of people are indigent. They cannot pay for an attorney. You have the right to a public defender. You have that right. You have that right. Okay? Okay. What type of abuse is the most damaging? Now, wouldn't you think it would be physical? No, it's not. Emotional abuse may be the most damaging form of maltreatment due to causing damage to a child's developing brain, affecting their emotional and physical health as well as their social and cognitive development. Now, let me tell you something. If you share custody with the father of your child or the mother of your child, okay, don't use that child as a pawn. Don't do that, because that totally, just like I posted the other day on my Facebook. Little ears do not need to hear big mouths. Okay, They take that in. If you're ever in a room full of children and you're a man and wife or whatever, partner and partner, and you're arguing, there's always a child, and probably 60% of the time it's a female, a young girl. And everybody's going about playing, but they hear what you're saying, people. They hear what you're saying. So, and they absorb that. They absorb that. If it's natural for you to argue in front of your kids, and especially if other people are around, if it's natural for you to do that, and those kids, all of a sudden, after a few months or 8 months or a year, they just think, well, that's normal. They'll grow up to teach they'll treat their kids just like you're treating them. You are the parent. You have sole responsibility in making sure that child is out of the picture when it comes to you and your spouse arguing. Okay? Totally put them in their room and do not argue in front of your children. It's an everlasting, vicious cycle that will continue generation after generation after generation. You are responsible for that as a parent. Okay? Anyway, just so much, okay, let's see this. Who is the most common abuser? Well, here it says most child victims are abused by a parent. In substantiated child abuse cases, 77% of children were victimized by a parent. 77%, okay? What can I do instead of calling the cops? Well, if your life's in danger and you don't want to call the cops, this says this can be organized in advance. Similarly, you could operate a phone tree system where members of your local community can quickly be contacted to assist with an incident. Why would you need that? Why would you be afraid to call the cops? They're there to protect and serve, are they not? Okay. We'll move on. What is it called when someone refuses to leave your property? Now, let's say you're the homeowner and you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or somebody over there at your house. If they refuse to leave, they are trespassing. Well, if you've lived with somebody, that's a whole nother ballgame. If you live with somebody for 30 months, for 30 days, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But for the facts, not from what I'm saying, from Google, okay? But anyway, if they refuse to leave, they are trespassing. Well, if they get mail at your house, and you have to go through the whole eviction notice, and it says you may enlist local law enforcement to remove them from your property if your family member verbally agreed to pay you rent, okay? Pay you rent, but that agreement was never written down, okay? So here we go. This is a whole different thing. So if you let somebody move in your house and you've never made a written or verbal agreement, but it was never written down, you may be able to collect a back rent. Okay, so this is a whole. Now, I'm not a landlord, and I have many friends that own property that rental stuff like that. Okay, let's go on to this. What mental illness is often associated with domestic violence? Approximately 20% of survivors reportedly experience a new onset of psychiatric disorders such as major depression, MDD, generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and a wide range of substance use disorders. So, let's talk about that for a second, okay? I totally understand about this whole big pharma and the whole money-making thing. You know, if you get hurt at work, or, and you have to have surgery, and they're obviously going to put you on hydrocodone or a Percocet or any kind of pain meds. You know, uh, you have a high percentage of getting addicted to that. And then you're still late, you're still off work, so you're not bringing in any money, so you get more depressed. And then you continue to use that substance or that pill or that drug or whatever to try to pacify your pain or your situation. And I understand that. I had shoulder surgery, and they had me on hydrocodone. And just one day, I told my doctor, I said, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking it anymore. And so I quit. So what if I had kept taking that? Would that have become a pill or a drug of my choice? 92% of the time it would be, yeah. So don't think that everybody on pain pills or opioids or anything like that are all drug addicts. Most stem from an injury that you have had, and then you lose everything. Uh, yeah, judgment. Yeah, yeah. I do judge. I don't judge people personally. I judge their actions. Okay. Um, which child is most likely to be a victim of abuse? Boys and girls are almost equally likely to experience neglect and physical abuse. Well, let me tell you this. If you send your child to school, okay, and it's 40 degrees, and that child does not have a jacket or socks on or shoes, that's a problem. That's a problem. You know, if you got socks and shoes, why don't your child have socks and shoes and a coat? We'll get back to that in depth, okay? The youngest children are most vulnerable. Okay, now here's a very interesting situation. What is the disease where you like your abuser? You like them. It's called the Stockholm Syndrome. Is a coping mechanism to a captive or abusive situation. People develop positive feelings toward their captors or abusers over time. What? Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome. You know, it's a trauma addiction that, if I think if you feel like you're not arguing, you're not getting along, or you might argue and then make up, and it might be a wonderful thing for both of you, but that's okay. We'll go to this. How do I get rid of a freeloader? How many? Raise your hand if you've and I mean that as a metaphor. How many people have you had let people come in your home? Okay, anyway, can you kick out a freeloader friend out of your house if they are not on the lease? Okay, if they are not on the rental agreement to or lease, you can ask them to leave. However, the law doesn't allow you to physically remove them from your home. If they refuse to leave, you could contact the police. Don't let people in your home. Don't don't feel sorry for people and let them come into your home and let them live in your house and then take over and treat you like the gum on the bottom of their shoe. Don't allow that. Been through that several times. Don't feel sorry for people that are manipulators or grifters or so on and so on. Okay. Okay. Can you call the cops on someone for throwing away your belongings? How many movies we've seen where a male or female get mad and they throw all their clothes out or they burn them or whatever? It says if you believe your property was illegally disposed of by your roommate, you should file a police report for theft. What are the police going to do about that? What are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. Okay. What is a gratuitous guest? Is a person who is temporary possession of the dwelling until the owner simply because of the goodwill of the owner. Oh gosh, this goes way off what I was talking about. Anyway, I'll try to keep on track here. This is a fun one here, I'm sure. Can I sue my ex for throwing away my stuff? Wow. There are legal ways that they can require that you remove your personal belongings. If your soon-to-be ex-spouse has thrown away your personal property or is threatening to do so, he or she may be held accountable for any property that has been discarded, hidden, or otherwise squandered. Can you punch someone? Well, that's about California. We want Ohio here. Let's see. Who is considered a guest in your home? By standard definition, a guest is someone who visits occasionally, maybe stays for a few nights, but is not expected to pay rent in exchange for their stay. Guest versus tenant. Do you have a clear guest policy? Okay, that's a whole other different ballgame. And it goes on and on here. But basically, I wanted to... here's a... Ironton, Ohio domestic violence programs. Let's look at that. Want to? Okay. There are currently 1 domestic violence and abuse shelters and programs in Ironton, Ohio, with 1 offering a hotline and 1 offering emergency shelter. Okay? Why do we have over 40 plus rehabs? But yet, if you're a victim of domestic violence, there's only 1. I'll read it again. There are currently 1 domestic violence and abuse shelters. And I think that's great that we have a 1. I remember when I was a cop, I took a female down there, and 2 days later, her spouse came down there behind the alley and shot through the back of the wall there with a shotgun. You know, do they not have security cameras down there? Do they not have any protection? No, they don't. Okay, and there's a hotline. 1 offering emergency shelter outside of this city and still nearby. You can also find help at these 6 domestic violence and abuse shelters and programs in place like Ashland, Huntington, and Portsmouth. If you have any questions, consider reading these domestic violence facts and statistics. Okay, so there is the Lawrence County Domestic Violence Task Force. Okay, and there's a hotline, 740-532-7111. If you are, now I'll repeat that. If you are a victim of domestic violence, you can call 24/7 a hotline, and I think that's great that we have that. 740-532-7111. Okay? I think that's excellent. I think that's excellent that we have that. Oh, merciful. Okay. Anyway, I just want to touch base. Excuse me. Yeah, that bronchitis is evil, and that respiratory thing going around here in Ironton, and in this whole county, and all across the country. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, but I'm blessed, and I just went through my first Z-Pack, and I'm going to a pulmonologist tomorrow, or today. So, yes, it's it's about 12:30. So, but anyway, I just want to touch base with you. I have been sick, and I apologize for not reaching out. But like I said, I will do videos whenever I'm capable of doing them, and If I don't, I don't. Just it is what it is. And but I will be reaching out. I've got a book signing coming up on January 22nd from 1 to 3 p.m. at Proctorville Briggs Library in Proctorville, Ohio. And then next October, I will be at the Boyd County Library, or I think they have that at Central Park over there, with new authors and their books. I will be also. I'm working on my second book, and I have ideas for the third and the fourth, but it takes a little time, and I'm not in any rush. I'll get it done when I get it done. And but you know what is crazy? Let me pull this one thing up here, and I'll show you. Okay, just hold on here. Excuse me. I went to my authors page, and what's amazing is these young kids, I don't expect them to know who I am. I don't expect them to. I really don't. 100% of people that follow me are female. 0% are male. Okay? Now think about that. Let me show you the graph here. Yeah, just like I said in another video, a friend of mine came, well, I met her at a book signing, and she said, and I asked her, I said, why do you have your name and your address in the top right corner? And she said, I work with all men, and they said they wanted to read your book, that they knew you were telling the truth, but they wasn't giving that dyke one penny. Cowards. I don't need you to buy the book. But, buddy, it's on a 2-week hold at local libraries. Why is that? But anyway, it's okay. It's okay. But I was going to show you a post here about that. Excuse me. Oh, mercy. Just so much stuff to hand over to y'all. And like I said, I've been down with bronchitis, and I just wanted to let you know that I will be doing another video in the next couple hours, based on excuse me, based on dysfunctional families, children of a divorce, and how they carry that with them for the rest of their lives, and neglect. Also be covering more of the Lawrence County jail here, and the abuse and the treatment and the things that those inmates go through, and several other issues. But I appreciate your support out there, and I know who you are, and I appreciate it. And I will get back to you here shortly. This is Beth Rist, Ironton, Ohio. God bless. Have a great day, great night. Thank you.